Namaste. Another Sunday, 8 p.m. Indian Standard Time, and we welcome you on our Gyan Ganga Words of Wisdom on our Virat Hindustan Sangam social media channels. As you are aware, we are on various platforms besides YouTube, Facebook, and other available social media channels and on podcast. So we welcome you again. Today we have an interesting discussion: India's economic growth, myth and reality today. And Dr. Swamy, in the next 40 minutes or 45 minutes, will be discussing the subject and explaining the reality today in the common man's language. I have to thank my co-host, Professor Arvind Chaturvedi from Delhi, and Ramesh Swamy for being with us for hosting this program every Sunday. I also have to thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Tejas Navalgul, Ishwar Iyer, Swaminathan, Rakesh Gadgi, Vishal Mehta, and Ajesh Nair for their background support to prepare for this program every Sunday. This is the 164th episode, and we thank our viewers across the globe. With this, it is over to Dr. Swamy to initiate the discussion on India's economic growth, myth and reality today. Thank you. Dhanyavad.
Thank you, Jagdish. I think the great interest that has been expressed on this subject arises in a sense because of the events that have taken place in Sri Lanka. And in Sri Lanka, it was once upon a time called the breadbasket of Asia and so on. Lots of good terms there were. It was also doing very well. And suddenly, you saw that things started collapsing. You can explain it was this because of this and because of that, but at that time in advance, people didn't know. So I today will not give a technical lecture because this is not the need of the hour. The need of the hour is where are we headed? And that's the issue I want to bring out by the numbers and with the help of my colleagues here, we'll try to clarify as we go along. The myth that I've said that myth or reality. The myth is that we are not the fastest growing nation in the world. We are not even the second fastest or the third fastest. And I say this because I've got this press cutting, where the Prime Minister is saying India's economic progress is an example for the world. We are the fastest growing amongst the major economies. PM Modi said in Lok Sabha on February 7th, 2022. And then later on in June, he said our growth rate is close to 8% now. And so this also is a big step ahead. And of course, the Andhbucks and the Gandhbucks have been playing this up. And nobody is willing to sit with the statistical abstracts produced by the government of India. First when the budget is presented and then subsequently. And so what is the truth? It's all right to say afterwards, like in Sri Lanka, now this happened and then the mobs went helter-skelter. So, you can give excuses, but we have to make sure today that India, being such an important country, such a large country with such a huge population, therefore we must see that it remains a country with a stable economy. And so we have to examine where have you gone. I also noticed that Mr. Amit Shah has also entered the picture, and I've got a press cutting of him in which he says India is the fastest growing economy in the world with 8.2% growth rate in 2022. 2022 is not even over. So how can he say about 2022? I don't know. I know that he is not an economist. I think he studied zoology, but zoology, is not going to help you understand economics. Ministry of Finance in for GDP had predicted we will grow, this is in February, at 9.2%. But now they are silent. They are not saying anything as to what the growth rate is. And we can see others who are critical of us. We may not necessarily, go by what they say, but we must keep your ears and eyes open to find out what they are saying and see whether there's any substance. Now, here I've got from the Economic Times, which is an Indian newspaper, a statement of Nomura, which is a well-known Japanese economic firm, which puts out facts and so on and so forth. So what does it say? That India's growth in 2023 will be not more than 4.7% per year, at the rate of 4.7%. And this is what we expect. And we expect the growth to further slow over next year. This is Nomura. Nobody's answered it. And like that, I have got, cuttings after cuttings, where the government officials say one thing, and then after that, what is being said is totally contrary to it. And perhaps they are not getting press coverage. I don't know what. But the fact is that Indians are getting confused, and many people ask me, what's the truth? So today's program is because of this. Now, Arvind Chaturvedi, our colleague here, has produced a table, and now he's going backwards to tell you what was happening, which we never thought so, because that time Jaitley, Amit Shah and Modi, they had really, created a climate where they thought we are booming and we are doing extremely well. Now, we can't use the second line, which says GDP at current market prices, because current market price also includes inflation. So these are inflated numbers. So constant market prices means one particular year we fix, and you can see those numbers are less than what the row above it. And the growth rate calculated shows that 2017 is 7.0, which is less than what it was in 2016-17, which is not there in the table, but I can tell you that was at 8%. Now it's down to 7%, then 6%, then 4.2%. Of course, 2021 is, we can say, the corona and all that is minus 7.7, which is also not low compared to others. Some others have 9, some have 6, 5, etc. But everybody's GDP had collapsed. But after this is the one that we are today interested. All the other numbers we will not go into, because it's really basically not something of interest to us. So what am I saying? I am saying, based on Government of India data, which is not coming in the newspapers, which is not being read out by Modi or Amit Shah, or any of the economists of the Niti Aayog and so on and so forth, or any of them is even challenging what I write in Hindu or some other newspaper, saying that what you have put out is wrong. In fact, privately they all tell me, we're very happy you said it, because somebody has to say it. We don't want people to later on all pounce upon us. So what is the truth? The truth is partly what Mr. Arvind Chaturvedi just now produced in his table, that India's decline has got something to do with the corona, but not much. What has it got to do? That somehow our economic policies from 2016 had begun to damage the economy, and we are not willing to admit it. So I went hunting for this and saying, what are the bad things that we did which has caused us to fall like this year after year after year? Today the Prime Minister says, India is the fastest growing state. Tomorrow everybody will forget. Nobody will remember what he said, because nobody is allowed to raise it up. And if you do, then of course there will be that you are not being loyal to the country, etc. All this bakwas will come out. But the fact is that you will see, as Nomura says, Nomura is not a government body. It's a commercial company which has to produce results. Otherwise, nobody will invest in them. So they are now saying, no, your thing is not as high as you say, but we are forecasting only 4.7% growth rate. When you have fallen about 10%, and then you have not fully yet come up. So what you are measuring today is against the declined part, and therefore it is now here is a table I had earlier produced. You start with 2017, go down, 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 down. Can anybody say this is wrong? I've taken it from the government statistical volumes, and we find now that for instance, the first year of Corona, we actually our income fell. National income or GDP fell by minus 23.9%. A huge fall. We have not recovered it yet. So this is a truth which we need to know. Can we correct it? Of course, India has been through many crises and we have come out of it. Lal Bahadur Shastri brought it out by creating Green Revolution. Narasimha Rao brought it up by freeing the economy, removing all the obstacles. So there are steps that have to be taken, and they were intelligently taken. So we never went into a collapse. Today, there are no steps being taken. Any step I have written to the people say, why don't you speak to the Prime Minister? Of course, I have written letters to him because I know he doesn't know economics, so I can't really, no point in my speaking to him. But if I put it in letter, then he will give it to some official, and then that official will say what is correct, what is not correct. But he has not paid attention at all, except to acknowledge my letters. He has not paid any attention. So it's no pleasure for me to find tomorrow that, like in Sri Lanka, we have also reached a collapse and people are roaming the streets and so on. So ours will be probably much worse than it was in Sri Lanka. So this is a warning. I am giving a warning. Please don't be complacent. So first thing you did was you demonetized the currency. Who asked you to demonetize it? No study. Reserve Bank didn't know. Niti Aayog didn't know. Cabinet didn't know. Nobody knew. And the Prime Minister went. In fact, when the cabinet had to be informed, they were put in a room. The room was locked. All the cell phones were taken out and put on a table outside. And then the PM went to the president to inform him. And then he came back and announced it to the public. Now, what was wrong with that demonetization? Isn't that a good thing? Of course, in some ways it's a good thing. But the question is how you organize it. The question is, suddenly people didn't have currency. Whatever they had was a dud. So you had to go to the bank and then give it, and then the bank will, after doing paperwork, give it to you. Or over the month, it was in November, by December, there were touts who had started coming. They said, give us the money, we will take a discount, and then we'll come and deliver the money, the new notes to you. And that process, people's purchasing power was so badly hit that our industry got a hit. People were not buying, and they were in fact busy collecting their new money for the dud money. And in that process, the demand factor suffered very heavily. And so demonetization was very badly planned. And I don't know who he consulted, but I can tell you that I had in between the middle, I think in December, Sri Ravi Shankar called me up and discussed with me that is there what needs to be done now. I told him that time that, you see, the main problem is people going and standing in line. Why must you do that? Just tell people, whatever money you have of the old currency, go and put it in your bank. And the bank will then after counting it and all, will give you new notes, so that there is no queue, there is no thing. And this is the way it's been done in so many countries of the world. So this way you would have got the thing done. Now today, this time, because anybody can come and stand in the queue and put it, we don't even know which currencies are put in. Why is it the Reserve Bank is still not disclosing how much money was made dud by black money, and how much new money have you put into the system? And there's no estimate of it yet, official estimate. And in fact, many people in the Reserve Bank who know me, they tell me that a lot of Pakistani currency is also being converted to Indian currency. The people went and gave Pakistani currency. How is the bank clerk to know whether it is genuine or fake? There's no way of testing it for him and every bank. So he then gives the new notes, and those notes become legitimate. So even today, we do not know, we have no record, we have no balances about the demonetization, but it had a huge impact on the demand factor of our economy. Then came this GST. And of course, by the way, I'm talking to you here in Parliament. I was the only one. I stood up and opposed it. I said, as an economist, I'm not talking about party matter here. This is not a party issue. This affects the whole country. What is that GST? That previously sales tax and excise tax, these were, local taxes, were collected by the state government. And they used to give a share to the center. By GST, government was empowered to collect all taxes, direct taxes, indirect taxes. Does the government have the machinery for it? They don't have the machinery. They gave it to the Infosys, which turned out to be a total dud itself. They couldn't produce the program. Ultimately, we had to use our own income tax authorities software programs to bring in something. Even today, that GST is still not in place. It's run on partly gas, partly this. That has another, again, upset the whole economy. So that was the second thing which brought it down. Then after that, we had the issue of how to promote growth. And you can only know how to promote growth if you know what is in shortage, what is in surplus. If there is a surplus of supply, then you must encourage demand so that they go and buy that. If cars are not being purchased, cut taxes. People will then go and buy cars. Or if you think that the demand is suffering because the poor people don't have it, and therefore those sitting having shops on the roadside, they're all going to ruin, then start and they're unemployed, these poor people, because of about this whole thing that happened with the situation after the two measures that I've just mentioned were taken into account. So therefore, what you should have done is put money into the hands of the people. How do you put money into the hands of the people? Create a project, building a road. Gadkari is ready to build as many roads as you want. So they, put the people in that. These are all very, very low sector, low income groups. They'll get an employment, and with that money they'll buy. So one demand factor comes in here. Then cut interest rates so that small and medium industries can get loans at cheap price, so that then they can invest, they can generate employment. These are the things that have been done. Have any of these been done? No, not at all. Have I told the government? Yes, I've written letters to it, but the government has not bothered about it at all. So we find that in the demonetization and then this GST, the economy is completely destabilized. And so the growth rate came down, 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 down. 2019, 2019, 2020, before the corona hit us, the growth rate had gone down in the last quarter to only 3%, which even Jawaharlal Nehru had a higher. The Jawaharlal Nehru period was 3.5% per year. But in Mr. Modi's period for that quarter, and the matter is still continuing, so that quarter is only 3.1% GDP growth. Come down, 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 down from 8% every year, down, 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 down. And how do I prove it? See the economic survey given in every budget. Every budget produces a publication called Economic Survey where they give you all the statistics. If you can't access that, go to the Central Statistical Office and tell them I want to buy a book on the Indian statistics, economy statistics. They'll give it to you. You don't have to charge. They won't be charged very much. And you will get a big volume in which all the statistics are there. And they all will show you what I just told you. Now, why is this? Because the people who are making economic policy are either bureaucrats or politicians who didn't know any economics. Modi said one day, I will double, when 2019, I will double the GDP to $5 trillion. With a lot of clapping, cheering, everybody. And what does it mean when you say you're going to double in 5 years? Because we were $2.5 trillion in our GDP. Of course, now it will be even smaller because the dollar rate has now gone to 80 rupees. So anyway, let's stick to the 2019 level. That GDP was to become double. It was 2.5, so become double means $5 trillion is what Mr. Modi said in 5 years. And what does the calculation show? That the GDP growth rate has to be for every year of those 5 years at the rate of 14.8% per year. You're not even growing at 3% or 3.1%. And you say you're going to grow at 14.8%. And after speaking about it for one year and 2 years, now nobody wants to talk about $5 trillion. Or you say produce some formula to AB and this and that. I don't understand what is going on. And I don't know who's telling the Prime Minister all this. And at least it has become a laughing joke, a matter for laughing around the world. People don't, polite people, they will not laugh at your face, but behind your back, they will do that. So now the third thing that happened, therefore, was that you did not know that this country was suffering from a shortage of demand because people's incomes were going down, 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 down. So demand was also going down, and excess supply. So this imbalance had to be corrected. How do you correct it? You correct it by either putting money into the people's hands and making them. This the Americans did, by the way, during the Corona period. By check. I mean, we got one of our Americans here. Excuse me, he's an Indian, but he's domiciled in America. Ramesh. He used to get his salary amount by computer transfer to his computer. He didn't even have to go to an office. That's the way to do it. Because by this, then you are sure that the demand doesn't get cut. If demand gets cut, then shops starts closing down, industry starts closing down. So all this was happening, and the governments were active. Here there's only speeches. We'll do this, we'll do that. And then you come up with all these numbers that the growth rate will be 8%, 9%. We are the fastest growing. Where? Is Somalia growing faster than India today? Yes. Is Timbuktu, is the most of the African countries growing faster than us? Yes, they are. But they are small countries, so I can't compare them. But with whom are you comparing? Do you think that you're going faster than China? Please produce the statistics. I'd like to see it. Are you? I don't want to compare with Pakistan. It's a basket case. But which country are you growing and becoming the fastest? But every day I see statements, Mr. Amit Shah, India is the fastest growing economy in the world with 8.2% growth rate. Mr. Amit Shah. Now, should he not be concentrating on the Home Ministry affairs instead of talking about this subject which he knows nothing about? So, what will happen? People get alienated, and one day suddenly everything will erupt, like it happened in Sri Lanka. And I don't think that we need to go through this great pain. A billion, 1.4 billion. We're only a little less than China. In another 5 years, we'll overtake China in population. So, what are you going to do? So, are there cures? Of course, there are cures. But where are the cures? Today, 2 days ago, I saw it on television, on the newspaper, that 9,000 of the richest people of India are migrating. Now, you may call them traitors, you may call them anything you like. But the fact is, they are going. They are going to spend their money for the investment in those countries where they are migrating to. Why is this happening? You see in sector after sector. You see today the money that's coming from abroad from Indians who are sending it to their relatives, that's also going down. You will see that the total foreign exchange reserves, which was nearly 1 trillion 4 years ago, today is down to $400 billion. It's become $0.4 trillion. And soon the Americans are, there's an old loan which of $280 billion that we have to give the Americans. We have to return it. Otherwise, they'll put a heavy, tax on us or interest rates on us. And if that happens, we will be down to the bone when it comes to foreign exchange. This is exactly what happened when Chandrasekhar took over the government. And he asked me as Commerce Minister to look at the exchange. I found there was nothing. There was not even 2 days, 3 days thing. And then fortunately, the Americans wanted our help in the Gulf War, and I charged them as much as I could. With my knowledge of the Americans, I knew how I could do it. And the Americans paid up. In those days, by those days' standard, they gave us, without any conditions, $2 billion. And therefore, our foreign exchange problem was solved. We bought time. Then Narasimha Rao came. He changed the economic system. And we grew at 7 to 8% per year for the first time in our history. Narasimha Rao has still not been given a Bharat Ratna, but he did it. And that is what has been carrying on through to Vajpayee's period and Sonia Gandhi, Manmohan Singh's period, where we have been growing at 7-8%. But now, since 2019, we have started going down and down and down. And I think this is something which needs to be attended to. Otherwise, by October, I'm expecting the beginning of an economic crisis for India. And I hate to be a bearer of bad news, but tomorrow they will say, why are you an economist? Why didn't you warn us? I'm warning you today that you are in a very, very precarious condition. And your all the hopes we had in 2014 of bringing down petrol prices, bringing down the rate of exchange between the dollar and the rupee, everything is gone. But that doesn't mean we don't get up again and start doing it. And this kind of sessions that we are having today is mainly to alert you. You started with demonetization, then you did GST, and then you began going in for throwing them, the budget mistakes that you made. You did not put money in the hands of people who are the demand factor, but you in fact put a lot of money into supply, which is already lying in excess everywhere. Cars were not being purchased. Nothing was being purchased and there was no demand. So your economic policy has brought you into this rut. And I think if the government doesn't listen, then they will have to listen to a riot. That's all that happens in history. And so I've been a little black and white in the sense that I've been a little harsh putting it across. But I hope you people, my colleagues here, will contribute to tell me which are the areas which concern them and how we need to solve them. Over to you, Jagdish.
Dr. Arvind Chaturvedi, can you start questions or comments, because a lot of viewers have been asking a lot of questions?
Yeah, Dr. Swamy, you have summarized the state of the Indian economy, despite very tall claims by the finance minister, home minister, prime minister, and their babudam. And the reality is different. And the reality is, as Ramesh had said in the beginning, the rupee has fallen. Rupee has been falling continuously, and it affects common man as well. Now, what has happened is, rupee was 75 to 75 rupees to a dollar.
Arvind, your video is muted. Arvind, can you just take a turn on your video?
Rupee was 75 rupees to a dollar in January, and only within 6 months it has crossed 80 rupees. Roughly 6 to 7% fall in 6 months, which is historical, has never happened in Indian history. Now, number one. Number two, RBI has been shelling out dollars after dollars in order to bring the prices under control. $41 billion have been spent by RBI in last 4 months, the last 3 months. $41 billion. The forex reserve has come down below 600 billion for the first time, just because of this. But the prices have not been controlled. Now, what if RBI was not doing this? Perhaps rupee would have been 85 rupees to a dollar. People say that the US dollar is becoming strong globally, and therefore don't blame Indian government. Ultimately, the policies of the government have to be blamed. Why? Within 6 months, 7% fall. Now, we say in June, the prices have been controlled to some extent, because in the May, the retail inflation, CPI, was about 7.8%, now it is 7%. I mean, we are talking about 0.8% bringing down the inflation and making this as an achievement. And the wholesale inflation, WPI, is more than 16% even today. And you rightly said, Dr. Swamy, that people are not buying things, that the demand is going down. There is a study on FMCG products, that is fast-moving consumer products, that people who have money to buy products, even they are shifting from branded products to unbranded products. Why? Because unbranded products are 20% cheaper than the branded products. So this is even for products like biscuit and hair oil and things like that, or cooking oil, people are shifting to local products instead of branded products. This is the state of affairs. When we talk about the impact, the FIIs have withdrawn a lot of money in terms of Indian rupees. More than 2.5 lakh crores have been withdrawn in last 14 months. From April 21 to June 22, in fact, the figure is just about 2.5 lakh crores. So the impact is seen all over. And we are elated with the stock price going up for certain products. We are increasing. You see, this month, the GST has been increased on all packaged products, including dahi, which comes in the mother dairy or any other brand, Amul or whatever. The prices have gone up. So the branded product, all products, packaged
even
food
Atta has gone up. Paneer has gone up.
All packaged food, the GST has gone up. And till last month, we were claiming, GST is 1.4 lakh crores and so on and so forth. Now, what has happened? If the country is not affected by inflation, then why are we doing this? So it is the common man which is suffering, and the government is, I would say, blind to the plight of the people.
Absolutely. I mean, Arvindji, as you rightly said, all the input costs have gone up, because at the end of the day, a lot of imports, be it drugs, because we import most of the raw material, gasoline, petrol and gas, everything attributes to the transportation, every cost goes up. Who is bearing the brunt? It's the common man. His salaries are not increasing that much. and they're stopping to buy. It is a disaster. I mean, it's a complete recipe for disaster, as Dr. Swamy said. Within the next few months, we're not going to see an inflation, stagflation, every kind of problems we're going to see. But this government is more interested to raise GST and collect more money rather than trying to alleviate these problems. That is fascinating to me. Dr. Swamy wants a very interesting viewer question. Either you or Arvind can take this question. So, what is this rupee trade settlement? I think we discussed this. Yeah. So, will that act as a cushion?
No, it's a disaster because you take, for instance, with Russia. You give them rupees in according to their own version of ruble rate, and with that rupee, they are not going to sit and put it in the bank. They are going to buy our products with it. In other words, we are by bypassing the dollar trade, saying no. You see, dollar, we have to be careful. You are actually creating a situation where the rupee's value goes down.
Correct.
Because so I mean, this rupee trade is a fraud. And it was created by the Russians because the Russians at that time when the Soviet Union was there, I know as Commerce Minister, how much on Parimal rice people came to me, politicians said, please don't abolish it, because the Russians were using the rupee price for Parimal rice and claiming that it was for basmati rice. So all kinds of frauds take place when there is no check. When you have dollars, I mean, I'm taking dollars example because everybody's accepted dollars as the exchange currency. The dollars, then there is an accounting process. The World Stock Exchange also responds to that. So here there is nothing. This is between me and the Russians. And we are both crooks. Then, of course, printing notes from our side, and they using it for buying all kinds of things from us at whatever prices they choose. This is a fraud on the nation. I won't touch it.
Dr. Swamy, there's another question. Rupee has fallen only against the US dollar, not against other currency. This is some of the stories spread about.
All currencies are against the US dollar because when
it's a global trade, yeah, correct.
You buy something, you're not going to buy other currencies. That means you're doing what you are doing with the Russians, with everybody. That's out of the question. So yes, the rupee will fall against the dollar because you are buying, and therefore the supply of rupees is more than the demand for the rupees, and therefore the rupee value goes down. And that's how it will be.
Dr. Swamy, another question from Naresh Kumar. How can we quickly recover? What are the 3 things that you would say, recipes for turning this around?
Well, I've said this so many times that people might say that I'm going stale. Abolish income tax right away. And you'll see the savings rate will zoom up, which will then become part of the investments. Number 2, reduce interest rates, which is running around 13-14% just now, to 9% only, and raise fixed deposit rates from the present 6% to 9%. So what will happen? People will save more, and people will invest more because the cost of investment has gone down. So the machine will start. Once it starts, then I can give you a number of other things that need to be done. But 3 things you do. Abolish income tax. Why? You're putting money not in the hands of the poor. For that, you have to make another arrangement. But you are helping people, middle class, upper middle class, to go and buy. So demand. When you abolish income tax, you are generating demand. And lowering the interest rates on investment, you make people wanting to invest and earn a higher rate of return. So that raises the production in the country. And if you raise the fixed deposit rate, people will come and put money in the bank, and the banks will get money to invest. I'm putting it as simply as possible. I can give you a whole complicated sheet, but who will understand? In this government, I can tell you there's not one person who understands economics at all. So what can I do? Who do I talk to? This is the question.
Okay, so
Dr. Swamy, another question from the viewer. We are taking direct questions from the viewers. Is on your screen. I have a question for Dr. Swamy with regard to RBI's sudden penchant for hiking the repo rate in the name of inflation targeting. What step can Finance Minister, assuming they have powers to reduce the inflation?
No, you see, inflation comes out of the fact that the demand and supply are in imbalance. I mean, put it very simply. I don't want to give you complicated answers, repo rates and so many other technical words that are used by the banks. The issue is, if your demand is growing and your supply is not, then the prices will rise. If the demand starts falling, obviously the prices will fall. Today we have an extraordinary situation where demand is falling as well as prices are going up. And the reason is because of enormous speculation, people sending money abroad. So many other factors are there. And that is the reason why it's going against common sense. In 1930, when the Americans had this great crash, the American president thought that if he cuts wages, employment will increase. But what did he find? That once he cut the wages, he called all the trade unions and made them agree and announced the cut. Once he cut it down, the unemployment increased. So he was shocked. Then it was explained to me, this is macroeconomics, not microeconomics. Macroeconomics, what happens is you cut down the wages, then the demand goes down. And if demand goes down, then people's buying power also goes down, which means that people are not able to sell. And therefore, what will happen? Unemployment will increase, not decrease, because people will start closing down companies. So remember, that's why I really advocate to all those who want to learn economics, learn matrix first. A matrix is the one that really describes the economy, not demand and supply. But the concept of I buy from this industry and then sell it to that industry, and that industry buys from another. So this whole matrix of transactions comes in what we call as the matrix. And therefore, these are complicated questions, but I would like to say that it's very easy to get these things rectified. I did it starting with Chandrasekhar and helped Narasimha Rao. What did we do? We did simple things. And then and those simple things automatically generate its own this thing. If Narasimha Rao can raise the growth rate from 1.5% per year GDP, which VP Singh left us with, to 8% in 5 years, year by year it went increasing. Why can't our people do it? Because they are not got that scholarly mind of Narasimha Rao, wanting to learn. Narasimha Rao used to sit every day at 5 p.m. with me for tea and learn the basic principles of economics. That humility our politicians today don't have. They will say AB, 2AB, or 5 trillion, all these kinds of things, and everybody will cheer and then forget about it.
Dr. Swamy, there's another question that talked about this government's penchant for selling all the public sector PSG, public sector corporations.
Yeah.
So they are selling one up. How is that even? I mean, how is this going to help? And given that we are in a crisis, how is this even?
No. What do you think happens? First of all, they sell. It's almost the distress sale that is taking place.
That's it.
Two, people are getting unemployed after that. See what has happened to Air India?
Air India.
I've never been for nationalization of anything. Arvind knows me long enough. I've always been against government taking over anything. But in this crisis situation, you are the workers have become hostages, and they are being fired, or they are made to accept lower salaries. This is happening in Air India today.
Dr. Swamy, another
I will
question.
just add one more point, Jagdish, before you ask the question. Ramesh had raised the issue about the atta prices going up. It is not, I mentioned about GST, it is not only the one reason. GST, of course, has been raised on packaged product, but even the loose atta is more expensive. Why? This year, the wheat production is less, procurement is even less. The government central pool stock for the wheat, let me tell you, for last 8 years is the minimum this year. We have, I have the data which says that the current stock of central pool of wheat is only 28 million tons. And in 2015, that is 7 years ago, it was 38 million tons. Every year it was increasing. Last 3 years it is going down. So there's a wheat crisis.
Yeah, obviously, which means it's going to add to the inflation problem, right? I mean, everything is going to get more. I mean,
the government has only banned the exports. That's the only thing they have done.
Yeah, Arvind, I just read one article today, Dr. Swamy, that the rice production in the north is less comparatively in UP and Bengal because they didn't have sufficient rain. The other parts got rain. So what they're doing, the farmers are going for more cash crop. They're going cotton and things like that because there's no more value, but they're not growing wheat and rice, which is a problem.
Right. Absolutely correct.
The government has, I mean, is not even looking at all these factors. At the end of the day, Dr. Swamy, as you said, 3 months down the line, people are going to pay almost double what they paid last year for every product, right from dal chawal, right from rice atta, all the way up to any expensive good. It really doesn't matter. So it immediately, they're going to cut down. You're going to create more crisis. The crisis is just going to be accelerated based on what you just said. I mean, urban statistics very clearly show that we are just accelerating towards a recession because all they're doing is right now just making things worse. Adding more GST is the most stupid thing to do. I mean, I don't know where this thing is headed, Doctor. So, I mean, these people have no clue.
Dr. Swamy, there are numerous
questions.
There are numerous questions, but on the same subject, viewers want to know what happened to this government's plan to get back black money, because what they are worried is, some of the viewers have put up, there are multiple questions, I can't display all of them. They say when we talk about black money coming back or what happened to that, they say in the social media we are attacked. These are the viewers saying. So what happened? How can the black money be got back, Dr. Swamy? This is what viewers are know. And why is Modi not keen to get the black money back in spite of being in power for 8 years?
Part A of your question. Jethmalani Nariman, we have together and separately given this government in writing how to bring back the black money just after the elections are over. And what did we say? 2005, the United Nations passed a convention on black money, saying that in the world there are about 70 plus countries which have money laundering banks. Others all are subject to restrictions, and they have to abide by certain rules, Basel conditions or whatever. Yeah, and but there are 70 countries where the trade they are outside the system. Liechtenstein is one of them, and one very, very important minister of our government in Delhi, that is a union government, His son recently has carried a huge transaction in Liechtenstein. And Liechtenstein has given a lot of trouble to Japan also. But now, if you want the money back, you go to the United Nations and say that according to our intelligence, which intelligence we have, because after all, for Chidambaram and his son, we have discovered 102 bank accounts, because the ED already has these everything. And even in Sonia Gandhi's case, I gave names of 2 banks in which she is maintaining illegal bank accounts in Switzerland. So these are known facts. So you tell the United Nations, in these banks our money is there. So therefore, please help us. Before us, some countries like Egypt, Gaddafi's country, and Gaddafi's country, and then Philippines, they use this very thing to tell the United Nations that we have passed a resolution in our assembly or parliament, and these are the banks in which our former leaders have accounts, and we want that money. So Egypt, Libya, and Philippines got the money back. You can go to Google and find out if you like. So simple. So we said the same thing. There are 70 countries in the world where the accounts meant to have Indian citizens. All this money should be frozen and handed over to the government of India. The UN Convention permits that. Why can't they do it? They are not doing it because, obviously they have some interests. Or they should come and give an explanation in Parliament that this proposal has come, but we think this is unworkable. I would say that the person in our government, who I will not name, was in charge of getting this money back. He himself had an account abroad. So there is no sincerity in it. That's why it's not come back. How much is today in Indians' money in foreign countries?
$500 billion.
$2 trillion. Huh?
$2 trillion. Okay, $2 trillion.
$2 trillion. How much investment that is if we bring it back? And these are
on an average, Dr. Swamy, $500 billion is going out every year.
Yeah.
On average, some estimates say on an average about $500 billion, about $462 billion go out on an average.
Go out, yes, but I'm talking about the stock.
Stock, yeah.
Okay.
Not only that, sorry.
Go on. Not only that.
Not only that, some government figures or Reserve Bank figures released in the last 6 months say that deposit in illegal foreign accounts has gone up in the last 6 or 8 years.
It has gone up.
So forget that. They have not only not got it, it has gone up.
Of course it's gone up. I would say to the government, you appoint me in charge of getting this money back, I'll get it back. If I don't get it back, the amount I say, or at least even 50% I don't get back, then you send me to jail for fraud, for cheating the government by saying I can bring it back. But they won't do it.
I just wanted to show you something. You talked about wheat exports going down. India dispatches 50,000 tons of wheat. Now, this is this February through Pakistan.
And so that they can do jihad with us, the Afghanis.
I mean, it's just, and you're saying the impending crisis in wheat.
You know the fate of Hindus and Sikhs in Afghanistan today?
Right.
Pitiable.
Dr.
So,
So,
let me
excellent
just tell you
response
one
so
more thing
far. I'm telling you, people are just questions are coming one after another.
about myth and reality. They are saying exporters are very happy that rupee is falling because exporters' earning has gone up, and they claim as an achievement that export is going up. Export has gone up, no doubt. 23.5% export has gone up, but import has gone up by 57.5%. And as a result, the trade deficit has increased. $26 billion is the trade deficit. So imports are much more than the exports. And then they say 5 trillion. Now they don't talk about the constant prices. They say 7% inflation, 8% inflation. We'll be reaching maybe by 2025, we'll be achieving $5 trillion in current prices.
no, they will
Dr. Swamy,
announce that next year our growth rate of GDP is going to be 8.6%. 1 year comes afterwards, nobody even wants to raise the question.
here's a question from Rachit.
What
Dr.
happened to
Swamy.
the 8.5%?
Yep. So here's
Doctor,
another
there's a
question.
question.
Yeah, go
Yeah,
ahead,
Ramesh,
please.
go ahead.
No, you
Ramesh,
go ahead.
go ahead.
Okay.
No, go ahead.
This is a question from Rachit. It says, why is the government raising GST on essential items? Isn't this counterintuitive to raising demand?
Of course it is. But the fact is that the government is now desperate for revenue, and they don't use the usual method. So this is the best way. You
Easiest
have
method
no
is just get the
choice.
black money, as you just said. It's much easier to get the black money back than trying to tax the people more.
Yeah, that's right. In fact, if you abolish income tax, all the black money from abroad will come back to India. Nobody will want to keep it abroad.
I think we have nearly reached 1 hour, and our viewership is also still very, very strong. For the last so many months, the viewership has not crossed what it has crossed today. It is over to Arvind to wind up the discussion.
Yeah, just the one sentence before I wind up the program. We claim India's achievement is that GDP has reached number 3 in the world in
Number
PPP
three.
terms, but nobody talks about per capita GDP. Either in the nominal term, if you talk about nominal terms per capita, we are 142 rank in the world.
Arvindji, before we conclude,
No,
Dr.
we
Swamy,
excuse me, we reached the number 3 position 25 years ago.
Yes.
Because that is evaluated in, say, in American prices. China, India, and United States, they are all evaluated in dollars. So our GDP is going to look bigger than it is. Fair
Yes,
enough.
Ramesh,
I mean,
Arvindji, just briefly, 5 minutes. Can we compress this, what we discussed in Hindi also, for the benefit of our Hindi viewers? 5, if that's possible.
डॉक्टर स्वामी ने भारत की अर्थव्यवस्था के ऊपर जो टिप्पणी की है, उन टिप्पणियों का सार इस प्रकार है कि जो महंगाई बढ़ती जा रही है गलत नीतियों के कारण, जिसके वजह से, जैसे जगदीश शेट्टी जी ने बताया कि रिजर्व बैंक को रेपो रेट 2 बार बढ़ाना पड़ा। बढ़ती हुई महंगाई के बावजूद जब रेपो रेट बढ़ता है तो जो लोग सरकार से जिन्होंने लोन लिया हुआ है उनका ईएमआई बढ़ जाता है। दूसरा, सरकार ने अपने रेवेन्यू बढ़ाने के लिए जीएसटी बढ़ाया है। उन सभी उत्पादों पर जीएसटी बढ़ा दिया गया है जो किसी भी तरह की पैकेजिंग में आते हैं। इसमें चाहे दही हो, दूध हो, घी हो, आटा हो, इन सारे प्रकारों को बढ़ा दिया गया है। क्योंकि सरकार के रेवेन्यू कम आ रहा है। एक तरफ तो सरकार क्लेम करती है कि उसने जो नीतियां अपनाई हैं उससे देश की अर्थव्यवस्था सुधर रही है। हमारे गृह मंत्री तक अमित शाह जी भी कह चुके हैं कि 8.5% की दर से हम बढ़ने जा रहे हैं। नरेंद्र मोदी जी भी कहते हैं कि हमारी जो वृद्धि दर है वो पूरी दुनिया में सबसे ज्यादा वृद्धि दर है। हम किस चीज के ऊपर अपनी पीठ ठोक रहे हैं हमें ये नहीं समझ में आता, क्योंकि जब हम प्रति व्यक्ति आय की बात करते हैं तो हमारी संख्या अभी भी 142 है पूरे दुनिया में, और अगर हम पीपीपी पर बात करें तो 128वां रैंक आता है। डॉक्टर स्वामी ने बताया कि जो ट्रेड डेफिसिट है वो बढ़ता जा रहा है। हमारा एक्सपोर्ट भी बढ़ रहा है, निर्यात भी बढ़ रहा है और आयात भी बढ़ रहा है, लेकिन आयात हमारा दुगनी दर से बढ़ रहा है और आयात के दुगनी दर से बढ़ने के कारण हमारा फॉरेन रिजर्व भी खर्च होता है। डॉक्टर स्वामी ने तमाम उपाय बताए हैं ताकि इस अर्थव्यवस्था को कंट्रोल में लाया जा सके। और एक उपाय जो वो अनेक वर्षों से कहते आ रहे हैं वो ये है कि इनकम टैक्स को समाप्त किया जाए। जो सैलरीड क्लास इसमें पिस रहा है, कारपोरेट टैक्स अलग बात है, जो व्यक्तिगत आयकर है, पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स है, उस पर्सनल इनकम टैक्स को डॉक्टर स्वामी पिछले 30 वर्षों से बल्कि 40 वर्षों से कहते आ रहे हैं, और वो अकेले व्यक्ति हैं जिन्होंने इसका पूरा निदान दिया है और एक पूरा खाका भी खींच के बताया कि क्या होगा अगर ये हम इनकम टैक्स को खत्म कर देंगे। हमारी थोड़ी आमदनी कहीं कम होगी लेकिन दुगनी दर से उस आमदनी को हम दूसरे रास्तों से पा सकते हैं। तो कहने का लब्बो लबाब ये है कि भारत सरकार की नीतियां जिम्मेदार हैं इस अर्थव्यवस्था को लाने के लिए, जो 2015 से 2020 तक लगातार पहले 8%, फिर 7%, फिर 6%, फिर 4%, और कोरोना के कारण और ज्यादा नीचे, और अभी हम उससे रिकवर नहीं कर पाए हैं। और जब तक हम अभूतपूर्व आर्थिक नीतियां नहीं अपनाएंगे तब तक हम इस बुराई से, इस अर्थव्यवस्था के जो नीचे जा रही है, गहराई में जा रही है, इस पे हम काबू नहीं कर सकते। ये डॉक्टर स्वामी ने अपने सोल्यूशन के रूप में हमें बताया है। रमेश, you are muted.
Yeah. Dr. Swamy, do you have any more to add to what Arvind said in Hindi?
No, we'll have to have many more sessions of this because this is a subject which is going to grow and people shouldn't panic. So we should explain, and then we should say there is a solution. People think that the government knows everything. In fact, the government is not doing anything at all.
Shown that they don't know anything, literally.
Yeah.
They're going the opposite way of every possible correct thing to do.
Absolutely. I mean, I'm willing to have a debate with anybody from the government.
But they're not ready, Dr. Swamy. I mean, you've said this openly, not only on here.
Yeah.
Every TV channel we appeared, you've said that. I mean, you've openly called the government, this prime minister doesn't know economics.
Yes.
You told nobody knows economics, and you said you openly challenged the finance minister to come on a debate, or anybody in the ministry, let them come on. Nobody's willing.
Yeah.
And all they do is start using these unbucks and gunbuck morons to come and attack you. That's it. Even after this show, that's what's going to happen, Dr. Swamy. After they watch that cricket match, they'll start abusing you because what else to do? Because that's the money. I think, Dr. Swamy, in this economy, it is better people get employed by the BJP IT cell than by any other economy. I think they'll make more money.
Okay.
It is unfortunate.
Some people
is not using the talented people, despite talented people being there in the ruling party BJP, and despite Dr. Swamy has 2 years back written a book, Reset, and this book was also translated in many other different languages for the people to be able to read and adopt the policy.
Included in Hindi by Arvind Chaturvedi.
Yes, Hindi was also done. So that our Prime Minister can also read it, and the right word has not reached the place. Yes, Ramesh?
One last thing. A lot of people I see commenting saying the dollar has not only increased against the rupee. First of all, guys, if you think dollar has increased against the euro, you don't earn euros. You don't earn in yen. So please stop this way of justifying the dollar is not only raised. You earn in Indian rupees. Are you earning in yen? Are you earning in euro? So this kind of questioning saying that it's not only increased against rupee is basically stupid.
They are defending the government. They are trying to defend the government.
Yeah, it is illogical and idiotic to make that assumption because at the end of the day, you earn in rupees, you're going to pay more. It doesn't matter whether if the yen it's going against the yen or not. Are you earning in yen? It's an illogical question. People make that statement. Yes, it's against also other currencies. It doesn't matter. You earn, what do you earn in rupees? It doesn't matter if it goes 100 times more in yen. Why do you care? What are you doing? You earn only in rupees. Be logical. Don't put such questions saying that, it races against the other currencies. Okay. I'm happy because for me, as a guy who holds dollars, I'm happy because I'm getting, when I send money to India, I'm getting more. I'm happy. But at the end, that's not what it is, right? I mean, I'd be selfish saying that, come on, please make it to go to 100. I'll be more happy.
And let me tell the viewers, Dr. Swamy has quoted the figures from the government statistics.
Yeah. That's
figures are not generated here and there. They are published by the government of India in economic survey, and Dr. Swamy had mentioned about the nominal price of economic survey. But let me tell the viewers, economic survey, all the tables, all the data is available free of cost from internet, www.mospi. MOSPI means Ministry of Statistics and Program Implementation. www.mospi.gov.in.
Yes.
Any data which has been presented either by Dr. Swamy in this program or anywhere, if they want the authentic statistics from Government of India, statistics don't lie. And statistics speak the truth. Statistics expose the falsehood of the government. And please go to www.mospi.gov.in to get the figures correct. And Dr. Swamy, as he said, this is a subject where people's interest is also rising, because people are worried about the solutions to their own problems. And maybe we'll have to have another program, sooner than later, to discuss the other issues about this program. There are some suggestions that keep this program in Hindi also. Well, there are viewers of speaking different languages, so we take care of the viewers by mixing Hindi and English in this program at right places. Thank you, Dr. Swamy, for being forthright. And though being in BJP, BJP is not listening to you for some reasons. And we appeal time and again, the Prime Minister and other people at the helm, that please adopt the policies suggested so that the downslide can be arrested. Thank you, Jagdish Shetty ji. Thank you, Ramesh Swamy ji. We thank our technical team led by Ashish Shetty, Swaminathan, Gadgi Rakesh, Ishwar Iyer, Tejas Navalgul, Vishal Mehta, and Ajesh Nair, without whose support this program is not possible. Thank all of them. Thank you, viewers, for supporting us every Sunday. And next Sunday again, we will be coming to you with a new topic and Dr. Subramanian Swamy, 8 p.m. next Sunday. Till then, Namaskar, Jai Hind.
Jai Hind.